the Fan3Cast, dishing out the hottest NASCAR news and views while celebrating the three's historic comeback. Here are your hosts, Michael Metzger and Jason Schultz. Another week down, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series keeps motoring on. They just came from the Motor City. Well, sort of. They came from Michigan, because Detroit's technically the Motor City, but close enough. They're in Brooklyn, Michigan for the running of the Quicken Loans 400. And guess what, Jason? Jimmie Johnson wins again.
Oh, that's a huge surprise. I never expected him to get another victory. I thought he was just having an awful season and he wasn't going to be able to do anything this year.
You sound like most pundits at the beginning of the month, but a run of 3 wins out of the last 4 races has really quieted down everyone. For Johnson, only 4 tracks remain that he has never won at that are currently run on the Sprint Cup Series. I know it's Homestead and Watkins Glen for sure are 2 of them. I believe Kentucky is one, and I can't off the top of my head think of the 4th one.
You got 3 on you, so it's probably one mystery one, but he'll probably win. It might be Bristol, actually, now just think about it. I don't know if he's ever won at Bristol.
That's interesting. I think I just assumed that he won everywhere, except for Watkins Glen, because I know I've never seen him do that in person. But the scary part for everyone else other than Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus is the fact that after the race, they were very confident that they were just turning the corner on this season. Then this is just the tip of the iceberg. It almost seems like they got off to a very slow start, but whatever was holding them back, they have fixed it.
Yeah, I think it was just the whole thing where Johnson missed some of the testing with the 2014 setup at the end of last year, so I think that really delayed them a little to start the season off, and they didn't have all the knowledge about how the new car was working and stuff. So they were a little behind, but obviously they've caught up now, and they're set to go on a hot streak. You know, they've already won 3 races. I bet they're going to be continuing the success over the next month or so.
So it was the new setup for the cars on Michigan, a lot of hope that it would turn and produce a lot of great racing, but in the end it was the same old Michigan. Long green flag runs, fuel mileage possibly being an issue that didn't end up happening, but just kind of boring, for lack of a better term for it.
I want to quickly bring this up. Jimmie Johnson actually has won at Bristol. I just looked it up. He has not won at Chicagoland.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I had that on the tip of my tongue.
Yes, and yes, Michigan was not the most exciting race. Ever since the repaved, the races have just been a little spread out. The speeds are really fast, which sometimes fast speeds translate into a little boring of a race when it's really spread out and they're just going fast and not really passing or running side by side. So that's a little negative from the weekend, but once the track ages, I bet they'll get back to the more exciting races at the Speedway.
One issue with Michigan, and I guess it isn't that big of an issue, is the track is just so wide and so big, being 2 miles, that they have plenty of room to navigate around it, that they don't have to constantly be bumping into each other or just that kind of forced contact that you'll see at other tracks that are a little narrower.
If you were watching the race last week, you saw your old friend return to the series, and Juan Pablo Montoya, he's doing 2 races for Roger Penske this year. He did Michigan, ran decently well. We'll talk about that in a second, but he's also running Indianapolis, where he's been so close so many times. He definitely wants to try to get that elusive victory.
Montoya maybe had a little too high expectations coming into the race. He managed a top 20 finish, but it by no means was blowing the doors off of the competition with how he ran, but I guess it's a little par for the course, especially given that Montoya's been away from the sport for half a year now. With the new aero package being introduced this year, I could see where he might be behind the curve. And honestly, this was just a kind of a test session for him because he wants to put all his money in on Indianapolis coming up.
He definitely thinks he's got a great shot to win Indy, so getting used to the car a little before he gets in is probably a smart move. And if Team Penske can get him a good car for Indy, I wouldn't be surprised if he's fast and contending for that victory.
Now, I will note, a lot of people were a little confused why Montoya would pick Michigan and Indianapolis to run when it seemed like two races that would be great for him to run would be Sears Point and Watkins Glen. The answer comes from Team Penske just kind of being short on people. They used the Nationwide Series crew to pit the car that Montoya drove this past weekend, and this weekend that crew will be out at Road America for the Saturday Nationwide Series race, and they wouldn't be able to get all the way out to Sears Point on Sunday to make it worth their while to do. So that's why Sears Point was passed over for Montoya and Team Penske.
Michigan featured the second race of the season for TNT, and if you listen to the last few podcasts, TNT is our favorite station to watch the race on. It was my first race watching for them this season last week, and I sort of half-watched it, so I wasn't really paying attention closely. But one thing I did notice was Kyle Busch had a series of issues in the middle of the race, and I saw it on Twitter about 10 minutes before PNC really mentioned it. So that really surprised me at how slow they are really to recognize it, or if they weren't really sure what the problem was and they're just holding out until they actually knew. So that was just a little surprising to me, because I know Fox, I'll see it on Twitter, and I'll hear Fox mention it usually a few minutes later, but TNT was definitely a little slow in that scenario.
It's interesting with Busch because it's not like it was, and no offense to Landon Castle, but it's not like it was Landon Castle. You're talking about Kyle Busch, a driver who competes week in and week out, and is definitely a recognizable name. I hope they were waiting for confirmation on what was going on with him before saying anything, but you could even just say that it looks like he's having problems. We'll send so-and-so to go check it out.
Yeah, I really hope that's something that'll maybe be a little quicker on next time, because it's when fans really don't understand what's going on, and they maybe see Kyle Busch that may have a problem, but they don't really know what it is. They're probably waiting on TNT to say something. So when it's so like that, I think it's definitely a hard thing for fans to understand and watch sometimes.
Now, Jason, this is not in our little script here, but I did notice this today, which I thought was really, lack of a better term, stupid. I noticed that NBC's NASCAR America airs at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on the NBC Sports Network. At the same time, exactly at 5 o'clock as well, is Race Hub that airs on Fox Sports 1. How can they possibly expect either one of these shows to do any good with the ratings if you're going to air them at the same time? That just seems like honestly a boneheaded decision by NBC and Fox to try to compete for viewers.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me for fans to decide which show they're going to watch. It's like, NASCAR America is a really solid show, and they have a lot of good content. The race up, it's got all the insider access and all that stuff, so it's really tough to decide. And originally, Fox's race up was at 4 o'clock, and then it goes NASCAR America at 5, but once one of the Fox Sports 1 shows got canceled, they moved race ups back to its original time, and it was just a little conflict with NASCAR America. But for NBC having their show being a little newer, I would say they should maybe adjust its time to be able to maybe get some more new viewers in, because they're definitely trying to build up their NASCAR lineup before they take over coverage for ESPN and TNT next season.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense, but in the same token, I should probably complain more if I actually got around to catching those shows, but they sound really good, but I just never have the time or remember that they're actually on.
After another dominating performance by Jimmie Johnson, which we mentioned earlier, he leads our power rankings again because why not? 30 wins last 4 races. He's on a roll. But when we come to our second and third place guys in the power rankings, we share Kevin Harvick in common. I have him second, Mike has him third. But we differ with 2 other guys. I have Brad Keselowski third because he's just been very consistent lately, and I know he's just itching to get another win, and I think it's coming soon. And his consistency is showing that he can run up front and really compete for that win. So I think BK definitely earns a spot on my top 3 this week.
I'm using, as you probably know from other podcasts, using StatsBase for my power rankings here, and obviously clear-cut Jimmie Johnson, no debating that. Stats or even a regular conversation. He is the number one guy in NASCAR right now. But the reason I have Jeff Gordon up there is not only stats say wise, but you could also argue that he is the points leader. So why wouldn't he be one of the top three cars up there? And then of course Kevin Harvick finished second to Jimmie Johnson. He's having a monster year when it comes to his stats. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of keep this momentum going all the way through the end of the year.
We're coming up on the first road course race of the season this weekend at Sonoma Raceway in California. Road course racing is always really exciting. Everyone loves it, and it's just, I think, some of the most action-packed racing we have on the schedule. So it definitely provides the opportunity for some wild card drivers to get their one win that could guarantee them a chase spot. And guys like Marcus Ambrose, even I would throw Eric Almirola, his teammate, in there, and even some of the underfunded cars that could really play some few mileage gains or just have a really fast car this weekend, and they could get themselves a chase spot in one of the races that definitely provides the opportunity for not only the top drivers but some of the lower tier guys to get their one win.
Now, when you say wild cards and road course, immediately Marcos Ambrose comes to mind, but I'm going to throw out another name that might be able to punch his ticket into the chase, and I'm going to go with Tony Stewart. He was almost untouchable when it came to road courses earlier in his career with Joe Gibbs Racing. As of late, he hasn't been quite as dominant, and this is especially, I think, a course where he could maybe use a gamble in fuel mileage or just outdrive everyone else and get that win that he needs to get into the chase and kind of relax himself and lead to possibly a better series of runs going forward.
I think the rest of the field has really caught up on the road course game, so Stewart used to have an advantage when he came to road courses because he was so good. I think now everyone's really on an equal playing field, which really allows for a wider range of guys to actually have a chance to win. And one thing we've noticed as of late is that the road course ringers, there are not as many in the field. They usually have the board said he's in there, but guys like Ron Fellows not in the race this weekend. And I think that just attests to how good the Cup guys are at road course racing now. So they don't really have a place in the race getting a underfunded team because they're going to get outran by the Cup guys unless the Wingers can find a decent team that may give them a chance. I don't know if they see any point in entering the race knowing that they're probably not going to have that great of a chance at victory.
As of right now, only Boris Said entered in the Sprint Cup Series is a road course ringer, and there's only Andy Lally making his NASCAR return in the Nationwide Series at Road America. And Jason, you're absolutely correct. It's kind of a two-edged sword here. One, sponsorship and the commitments for an entire season kind of dictate that you can't plug in different drivers at different times. And then the other one is exactly that. You have a small market team, even if you throw a road course ringer in there, there's no guarantee that they're going to do any better than your regular guy, so why not stick with your regular guy? Saying that, I would look at BK Racing and especially Ryan Truex, as he would have been an easy one to replace this weekend because he has not done well getting into races to begin with, and just having that road course experience could just get you into the field. But we have Timmy Hill and Joe Nemechek listed in the 33 and the 66 in the early entry list, and I'll be interested to see if that changes before the start of Sunday's race.
Last year at Sonoma, we saw one of the more surprising winners at a road course. Mart Truex Jr. took the victory, and it was only his second career victory in the Sprint Cup Series, and he's definitely not one guy we would look at and say, yeah, he's a road course ringer, he's really good at road courses. He's probably the farthest away from that, and it really surprised a lot of people just to see him in victory lane because that's not the thing we usually associate with him. So that really, I think, it shows how unpredictable the winner can be. It could be really anyone. It could be a guy like Ambrose, who's usually good at road courses, or it could be a random guy like Truex or Boyer, or even a guy like Casey Kane. They're not really known for road course racing, so they could just jump up and get a surprise victory, and this year will really benefit them getting that victory more of a wild card race, like we said earlier, because it gets them into the chase.
You said it perfectly earlier. The competition has clamped down so much on road courses. People actually prepare for it a lot more than they used to. You could almost blame people like Ron Fellows, Boris Said, Max Pappas, because they've taken other regular drivers under their wing, shown them the tricks of the trade, and they're going out and beating them on a regular basis. So I think this is a good opportunity for Truex to try to back up that win. I don't think he'll quite do it, but I mean, we had Clint Boyer the year before. This seems to really be a wild card when it comes to trying to predict who might win it. And there might be another surprise winner out there that we can't even think of or don't even associate with road courses, just how it's played out the last couple of years.
I don't think Truex could get it done this weekend either. I think he's just a little too far behind the season to really be up there and compete for the victory this weekend. But I'm going to go with a not-so-road coursey guy, if that's even the term. Brad Keselowski. He's not the guy we see running up front at road courses, but now that I think about it, Watkins Glen, he's been phenomenal there in the last few years. He's not really that competitive at Sonoma. I don't remember any instances where he's been up front, but I'm going with him this weekend, consistent over the last few weeks, and I guess he has some success at Watkins Glen, so he knows how to turn left and right. So I think he's got a great shot at getting another victory this season.
You are absolutely correct. As soon as you said Brad Keselowski, I was kind of thinking, is Jason on anything this weekend? But he has a win in the Nationwide Series. He has a runner-up finish in the Cup Series, a great duel with Marcos Ambrose 2 years ago. So, hey, why not? That's a very good pick. And with that said, Ambrose would be the numbers pick for the win this weekend. I don't think that he's going to do it, but I believe that Kurt Busch will actually pull it off. He has been so close the past 2 years with less than stellar equipment. Now that he's with Stewart-Haas Racing, this is another opportunity for him to capitalize with the better equipment and get up there. If he can get this second win, it'll help him out, not only in the point standings, but also really guarantee that he can get into the chase.
It'll be one wild weekend for sure, and we know the Nationwide Series at Road America, those races are always some of the most interesting and wild. We saw Max Pappas involved in a little incident with Billy Johnson after last year's race. If you remember the Pap Frap, that was just a year ago. So it's definitely going to be a wild weekend, and tempers can definitely flare when the races are settled on these road courses this weekend.
I love road racing. I know it's not traditional NASCAR because you want the short tracks and ovals, but I think it's some of the best racing that we have out there. It's just so wild and open. It's not like Talladega. You got to actually drive. You don't coast around waiting until the end and hoping you're not in a wreck. It's you're going out there, you're fighting every corner, you're fighting every lap to get the second that you want, and just I love it. I love playing it in video games. I love watching on TV. Road racing is the best, and I think NASCAR road racing is the absolute best.
Thanks for listening to the Fan3Cast. For more NASCAR coverage, check out StartingParkBlog.com and Turn4RacingNews.com. Follow along on Twitter at Fan3Cast, at StartingParkBlog, and at NASCARJason.